After much hesitation, Viva, looking at the screen, decided no intro video today. It will just be bringing Jake Lang, activist or agitator, in to discuss what's going on. Okay, jokes aside, everybody, there's no intro video today because I got Jake in the backdrop for a half an hour and I want to get this discussion going so that we can actually get into the thick of it. I'm going to make sure that we're live across all platforms. Viva Fry, David Fry, hey, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida Rumbler, streaming across Rumble exclusively daily, 3 o'clock. We are on vivabarneslaw.locals.com. And I think we're also on X, but nobody really cares about that. We're having Jake Lang back on because we're going to have a public discussion of what I have been relaying to him privately and questions that I have that I think everybody needs to hear the questions and the answers to in order to understand what the heck is going on. For those of you who don't know Jake Lang, he's a Jan 6'er. He was held in pretrial detention for 4 years. I think you all know this already. He's the guy who engaged in acts of violence with the police officers when I interviewed him while he was incarcerated or in pretrial detention, and he used the terminology "a bat manifested itself," and he used it on police officers at an incident where he was within the proximity of or actually in physical contact with Roseanne Boyland when she was struck by police officers and ultimately trampled and beaten to death, according to many. Jake Lang has been something of a lightning rod of the Jan 6 figures, and since his release and since his pardon or commutation, has made himself something more of a lightning rod, engaging in behavior which we're going to explore today. I would argue, and I will argue, is not just not productive, but, and I would even say beyond counterproductive, anti-productive. We'll get into it. Had an incident in Minneapolis. He'll describe it. But I'm going to bring Jake Lang in anyhow. Jake, bringing you in right now. 3, 2, 1. Sir, how goes the battle?
Hey, Viva. Good to see you. Good to see a friendly face out here after all of the, wickedness that we saw towards conservatives, white people, Christians, Trump supporters. We're all grouped together now. There is no escaping it. If you wore a red MAGA hat, you're at liberty to be lynched in Minneapolis. With the police, zero police response. They would have allowed me to literally be disemboweled on the streets outside City Hall, Minneapolis, without a single police officer responding. It was grotesque mismanagement by the city, and the behavior of the liberal, rabid leftist is, the exact opposite thing we need in this country right now. And they're discussing, and they're going to be burning down our cities again come this summer. The only reason Minneapolis is not on fire, Viva, is because it's 4 degrees out. As soon as it warms up, the BLM, anti-ICE, whole entire leftist rioting scenario is going to take off. So we're just seeing the beginning phases here with a lynching of a white man right outside Minneapolis City Hall.
Jake, we're going to get into it. I was going to retweet your post and say this is not going to be necessary. You know what type of interview discussion this is going to be because I've told you privately, and I'll say it publicly. You are trying to depict yourself as a victim, where people are going to say, not only are you not a victim, but you are the reason for which other bona fide, legit victims are going to have a tougher time arguing victimhood when they're going to get lumped together with the likes of you. And
are we not allowed to? Are white people not allowed to go to any street corner in America and talk about their imminent replacement in Europe and America? That Muslims are taking over Minneapolis, that the Somali daycare pirates are robbing the people they're blind of hundreds of millions and billions of dollars of welfare fraud? Are white people not allowed to just take a microphone, a street sign, and go out there and say, hey, we're being replaced? And not only we're being replaced, but they're stealing all of our money in the process. Colonialism of Somalis is here in Minneapolis. And if we do that and announce we're doing so on social media, we should be lynched. Is that what you're saying? That I'm not a victim of exercising my First Amendment right, that I deserve to be lynched for exercising my rights, Viva? Because that's the only other implication that anybody could draw from what you just said.
No, well, but I don't like using hypotheticals. What you've seen Die Hard.
That's not hypothetical. That's what happened. I took to the street sign.
Here's the hypothetical.
Talking about white replacement, street side of Minneapolis, and was engulfed by a crowd of Walking Dead zombie woke liberals that wanted to tear me limb from limb because of my ideas.
Hold on.
Same thing they did to Charlie Kirk. And it seems like you're saying that Charlie Kirk had it coming. Jake Lang has it coming. He's not a victim. That's the kind of argument that you're really leaning towards here, Viva. So if you're going to say that I have it coming because of my ideas, the liberals believe the same amount of hatred they have for me, they had for Charlie Kirk because he was anti-abortion, because he was pro-freedom of speech, pro-natural order of a man and a woman in a marriage and the natural roles of gender. There were people out there that did kill him because he was, the guy had a furry transvestite girlfriend, right? Mr. Robinson that murdered him. So you're talking about because I stand against certain things, just like Charlie did. He had different things. He stood against homosexuality and transvestites and that whole entire indoctrination of the youth. And people wanted to kill him for that. So you're saying that he and I are both no longer victims of exercising our First Amendment rights, but we had it coming. That's what you're leading to everyone to believe by your statement.
I think you comparing yourself to Charlie Kirk is a disingenuous. I want to weigh my words because I don't want to be too aggressive. It's not comparable. And I don't want to do the hypotheticals, but if you were to hypothetically walk through downtown Chicago suburb with a sign on your chest that says "I hate the N-word," like in Die Hard 3, you would expect to get punched in the face at least. Now, would you say that I'm a victim of violence because I went out there and did that? I mean, the question is, there are.
Well, I would say that somebody could walk down any major red city, in America with a sign that says "I hate white people," and they're not going to be lynched by white people because we have an impulse control. We have an understanding that our lives are not worth throwing away over an infraction of our sense of self. Like you tell a black person angry and they have low impulse control, and then they prove to you that they're angry and have low impulse control by assaulting you 41 times more often than white people assault black people assault white people. So it seems like everybody that is being fence riders like yourself, Viva, is sitting on the sidelines and criticizing my tactics. But you could say a million things about my tactics, but tell me I'm a liar. Tell me the things that I'm saying aren't true, that white people aren't being replaced, that Somalis and Muslims are taking over Europe. You say, oh, we don't like his tactics the way he says that. Tell me that every Netflix movie does not have a purposeful ending where the white girl ends up with the black guy, Viva. Tell me that all this is a coincidence, that all of the commercials are interracial, that white people are disappearing, our birth rates are 1.2. For every 2 people, we're only having 1.2 children. Tell me it's all coincidence, and I have no grievance here, and I should sit down, shut up, or I have beatings coming to me from talking about this stuff.
First of all, nobody's saying that to. In fact, I think you're deliberately or inadvertently proving my point, which is you might have legitimate grievances. And then my question to you is, do you think running around doing the Sieg Heil and using the word N-word lovers is going to promote the legitimate grievances that you have, or make it easier for other people to support those grievances? Do you think it makes it easier?
I'm worried about the reaction of the community that I'm representing, having somebody that's saying the things that they're thinking and they're believing, and they want people to say. I'm not really interested in the reaction from all of the mongrel, and leftist newspapers and all of these Muslims that come and attack me online and people like that. I'm looking, because guess what? There's a huge silent majority of white Christians in this country that feel like they can't get jobs, right? Because they're getting replaced with DEI hires. And that is verifiably, factually true. Out of the Fortune 500 companies in the last 10 years, 90% of their new hires have been DEI. So white men can't get jobs. We can't get into colleges with the same test scores because of affirmative action, and they have to have some type of quotas. So, we're not getting jobs. We're not getting into colleges. They're stealing our women through their freaking psychology, reverse psychology, Netflix shows, and all of the interracial commercials and everything. And it's just one by one. We're being disenfranchised. Across the board. And then you have somebody like me that stands up who also shares the same characteristics of Charlie Kirk: white, Christian, American man, Trump supporter, right-leaning, and who shares the same ought against the enemies of God, Muslims. He said is the sword that will slit the throat of America. And you say, oh, Charlie Kirk, Jake Lang. That's pretty inflammatory, Viva, is it not? And they shot him in the throat in the same type of scene with thousands of people around him, many people arguing with him, and somebody shot him. I mean, how much different from what happened to Charlie Kirk is what nearly happened to me the other day, and how
Well,
much different are our ideas. And he's going about it in a little more politically correct way. But I'm sure if you were to ask Charlie Kirk, do white people deserve to become a minority in every single continent and homelands that they have? Charlie Kirk would have said no. And so we share all these same ideas and these same values. And you're going to tell me that because I have a different tactics to get it at the front of the news feed to make sure that I'm being, breaking through that algorithm to get the message out there. White people are being replaced. Take away all the fluff. Take away the fact that I was nearly
Jake, so
beaten to death.
stop for a second. The great replacement, a lot of people talk about. This is a serious question, and you have to think about it. Is what you're doing making it easier or harder for people to sustain or object to that politics? In reality, is what you're doing making it easier or harder?
We're trying to wake up America's largest voting bloc and make sure that we are having each other's back in our interest, because every other voting bloc, what happens is you get one of these people in position of power and they funnel over all their other Pakistani brothers and Indian brothers. They hire them at their workplaces. They make sure they get into the government jobs underneath them and their agencies, and they're completely here to take over all of these different factions. So what I'm trying to do is explain, so politely as I do, famously politely, that white people need to see themselves as a people group, as a heritage, a shared culture, a value system, a religious undertone, being Christian, the race of Christianity that brought it to the entire world and made it what it was, the institution that has lasted thousands of years and conquered continents in every corner of the globe. And, the love of Jesus Christ that is the underlying message of it all. But we have an identity. And the way that you rob a people's future, Viva, is by stealing their identity. You can't know where you're going unless you know where you're from. And by telling us that multiculturalism is our strength, that we need diversity in every single aspect, what happens is you start to boil down a people and you turn it into a stew, unrecognizable goop. And those people are easily controllable mass when they don't have homogeny, shared identity. And then they all vote for Big Brother, social credit score systems, New World Order, totalitarian deep state, all of that stuff. That's what their goal is, to replace a homogenous group of people that are pro-liberty, as white Christian Americans are, with another group of people, South Americans, Africans, Indians, Pakis, and Muslims. And all those people come from totalitarianism, come from corruption. They don't have that same background and heritage and shared value system of family, Christian values, small government, pro-liberty, pro-freedom of speech, pro-Second Amendment, and they ship all these people in here. They make it impossible for us to reproduce. They even mind control and program our women into hating us. And then they get a soup of people with no shared heritage, with no history, that it all is malleable, and then they control them all. And there's no more Second Amendment in America. In 3 generations, what do you think it's going to be like to be a white person in America? It's going to be like being a white person in South Africa right now, where the Boers kill the Boers, right? Whole entire stadiums full of black people. Kill the Boer. Remember? Kill the Boer. Kill the white farmer. That's what it's going to be like 3 generations from now in America. Kill the Boer.
Let me do something that I used to do.
And it's not a joke.
Let me do something that I used to do in the practice.
It's funny.
Let me ask you. I'm going to do something I used to do in the practice of law, Jake. What was the question I asked you?
Viva, I think you're. Yeah, I don't know where we started, but I know where we're going.
Jake, what was the question I asked you?
I think you were asking me something about the practicality of making of what I'm doing, actually influencing it for the good or for the worse.
Okay, so
and my explanation of that.
No, yeah. So is what you're doing making it easier or harder?
I'm trying to influence white people to people up as a people group. I don't care if the ethnics are getting angry that I'm upset with them and I'm saying inflammatory stuff. Well, I'm trying to talk to my people group and represent a people group and represent their best interest. Because last night on Alex Jones, he started trying to glaze over, my seriousness, and God bless him, because he's a peacemaker, and I understand the want to try to quell racial tensions, and I don't want extreme racial tensions, but he's trying to, kind of plug in statistics that blacks are turning to Trump more and more and more. And I just had to shut down that whole entire coddling, because you have Irina Zaruski, you have 41 times white people being attacked by black people than the other way around. And we're going to start to like point out statistics and stuff. Their culture is completely brain rot. I mean, it's disgusting gang, whore culture, and they need a whole entire reformation. The black community in America, they're murderous and they have zero moral values right now in 80% of the community. And that is untenable for the future of America. And if I say it and people are pissed off about it, we'll fix it then. And so that people like me won't have, something to stick at your community and to pry you apart with, because we won't have to at that point. You guys will be, a people group that is functioning instead of an unfunctioning swarm of degeneracy and gang culture garbage that's destroying America.
Jake,
see every day on X, you see another black group swarm of people ganging up on a white person, which was pretty much what happened. And God bless. And let me backtrack from my diatribes here for a second, because this is very important. And I pray that the people that helped save my life, the black people, the Muslim people, and the woman that was driving the car and her friend Dea, that were in the red car, to those people, I want to say thank you. I'm super amazingly grateful. I know God has moved your hearts to be extremely compassionate people, and for that, I still believe in the humanity of everybody. And I'm grateful for you. And I just want to say especially to the woman that picked me up in the car and her friend Dea, that I feel it disgraceful that you told the world that if you knew that I was a pro-ICE supporter, that you would have left me there to be devoured by the hundreds and thousands of wolves that were trying to murder me. And I hope that you check your heart on that, because being a good Samaritan is a biblical story of two people groups that hated each other. But when one saw the other injured beyond capacity on the ground, they literally picked them up and went and tended to their wounds. And Jesus was using that as an example of how to love. And so I thank you for being good Samaritans. I thank you for showing love. The Muslim men that put their lives on the line to walk me out of there. That's the right thing to do. But that right, good, righteous deed can also be true at the same time as white people deserve to have a homeland and not be replaced. It can also be true. So I can love these people, go and visit them in their homelands where I can truly immerse myself in the fullness of their culture, right? Because all the dress, the laws, the religious systems, the whole entire society is built around their culture. I would go there, sit down with their family, eat dinner, be immersed in the experience of being in an Arab household and wherever they're from, their lineage. And then I would be able to return the favor and invite them over to my American household. And we would be able to visit each other like normal people, instead of having one predatory group of people swallow another. And so while I'm thankful they saved me, my viewpoints on white replacement are not changed. I still have an underlying faith in the humanity of people that was really, really amazing to see. And I'm grateful for them.
You would understand. I mean, you would agree that there's a difference between, let's just another hypothetical. I hate them, but we have to. A woman at 5 p.m. getting raped in a park versus a woman dressed in, a short skirt walking through a bad part of town at 3 a.m. Both are victims, but you would appreciate that there's a degree of probability or likelihood in terms of one over the other that makes one victim not more blameworthy, but a little less blameless.
I'm not going to derail this completely, but I just have to say white women walking home in Poland half naked have a much smaller chance of being raped and sexually assaulted, because they don't have a bunch of degenerate Muslims, third worlders, 70 IQers in their country who are lusting after from Hollywood, making our women an object of lust and beauty. And these people are pearl clutching at our women, and they're breaking into our countries and raping them. So anyway, I have to point out the underlying social factor that would probably going to undermine your argument anyway. A woman in Poland dressed like a school teacher or dressed like a hooker has a better chance, either one, walking home and being safe than a woman dressed like a school teacher or a hooker in a majority ethnic area in America. So that's my argument back to you. Whether it's a Polish girl's dressed like a hooker or a school teacher, she's got a much safer chance getting home than a white woman like Irina Zaruski, who was dressed like a perfect church angel and was stabbed in the throat, or the woman in Chicago who was burnt alive on the bus, also dressed normally. So I just have to, I know what you're going to try to say. If you purposely set yourself up for something, are you less or more culpable
So
for the results?
your answer is it would happen less often, but it would be more predictable even in Poland to be walking around scantily dressed, intoxicated.
Of course. I had to insert my political beliefs into your question.
Then at least as far, because I think most people say that, yeah, you don't deserve to get beaten or stabbed. I don't even know what ultimately happened to you in Minnesota. But if you walk around certain parts of the neighborhood, even if you go to the Hasidic neighborhood with the thing that says, I hate dirty Jews, you'll probably have things thrown at you. So you're going to, but am I not allowed walking around? It's a First Amendment right. Am I not allowed doing it? You're allowed walking up to a big burly guy at a bar and saying his wife is an ugly piece of trash, and you should expect to get punched in the face. And if you do, you can't really just walk. I was just expressing, how did that happen to me? Woe is me. I'm just like Charlie Kirk. You're not going to get that from people.
Well, there's a difference. Let's talk like normal civilized people. Political demonstrations have a different understanding, social contract, Viva, do they not? When people have specifically named...
Actually, you mentioned Poland. I just watched a clip from a fight with an Iranian fighter. I think it was Russia or Poland who kicked one of the girls in the butt who was holding the sign, and the joke was, oh, he thinks he's in Iran where you get to do that, and they beat the shit out of him after the fight. So, like, I mean, the idea
that's what I'm saying. That's like in a personalized, the social contract for personal interactions is, men will not be dishonored in a personal interaction, or else, he'll have to restore his honor by fighting whoever disrespected his wife or whatever. But that's a different standard. In America, we have a long-standing history of being able to have political movements, political times where you meet up, you say inflammatory things, you say things, and that, to squash that speech is the same. It's basically the same argument you're making is because Mark Zuckerberg doesn't agree with me and he's going to bully me online, basically euphemistically throw stuff at me as I'm trying to speak my piece and ban me and shut down my free speech. We have an understanding in America that political speech and free speech in that regard is the highest sacred honor. And to take someone out of the public square and try to lynch them is the same thing as Mark Zuckerberg not agreeing with what you're saying and banning you from Facebook and closing. If you used to be able to reach 100 million people a year, right? And all of a sudden you have no Facebook. It's like the same thing, being lynched in the public square while making political statements, not personal. I'm not saying your mother's this and your mother, we're talking about, macro level ideas. It's like the philosophers in Greece out in the town squares espousing their ideas, which weren't about personal attacks, but trying to get to a level of truth together. Are white people being replaced? Why are white people out on the street right now screaming about their replacement? Let's start that conversation. And the social contract was completely broken when I was kidnapped and engulfed in a crowd of thousands of people trying to kill me for saying, hey, I'm being replaced. A swarm of illegal immigrants and white liberals that hate America swarm me and try to kill me.
We're gonna come back to that. Let's have that conversation is one thing. And if slapping a Koran with bacon or setting it on fire or referring to people as N-word lovers, if it makes it impossible or more difficult for people to have that conversation, what are you doing? Are you actually not, whether you think you are or not, making your own, what you believe to be a righteous pursuit, more difficult by making it impossible?
How many, let's talk serious numbers here. Let's be serious people here. How many children saw my video yesterday, saw me being lynched, sat down at the dinner table with their mother and father, who have maybe followed me on social media and know about the fullness of my message, and say, Mommy, Daddy, why was that Jake Lang man hurt today on TV? Why were all those people trying to hurt him? Well, it's because he's a Trump supporter. He's also a white Christian man, and he says that, and he's proud of being an American. And those leftists and those people, they're trying to stop the lawful orders of President Trump to deport illegal immigrants. So how many conversations, how many, because of the spectacle that it was. Unfortunately, one of the most harrowing and horrific experiences of my life. But the conversation's going. Me and you are here. The proof is in the pudding. You who disavowed me a week ago have now platformed me to reach tens of thousands of people to talk about, hey, Europe culture is gone. It's being replaced by kebabs and mosques.
I gotta tell you something. That's one hell of a manipulative way of describing what I'm doing right now. I'll tell you.
I'm just saying, you disavowed me a week ago, and now I have a platform to speak to you.
But I'm telling your mind
Jake, as my friend, and as these random audience viewers.
Jake, I didn't disavow. What I had to do is say what you are doing is you are not Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk was killed at his own event, speaking peacefully and rationally with people. He wasn't assaulted going into their, whether you like it or not.
That event was my event. I announced that a month and a half ago, and they built a counter event around mine. I even reached out to the city for a permit for inside, and they closed down the building 2 days before my march. Nobody knows that. I haven't even talked about that. My permit and the building were completely disavowed, just like you disavowed me. And they closed down Minneapolis City Hall, the state capitol, everywhere. And my event, unfortunately, had zero police there. They literally escorted me from the sidewalk when I first arrived, brought me into the middle of the crowd right outside City Hall, and disappeared. I got up on that ledge, and as far as the eye could see, there was not one police officer in the swarm of 3,000 to 5,000 angry, ravenous people who were trying to disembowel me for being a right-wing, conservative, Christian, straight, white, male, Christian, all the identifiers they hate. They just wanted to kill me because I match up in the slots of things that they hate.
No, they probably have an issue with. I mean, the reality is they would have an issue with a great many people, but the other reality is, like, you're not as innocent.
They would have done that to Nick Shirley. Let's just be clear here, with or without the inflammatory rhetoric that I have. If Nick Shirley was there, he would have been crowd surfed and disemboweled like the zombie movies or whatever. The same way they tried to get me. But so we're arguing about mediocrities here on our side of the field, but they killed Charlie Kirk, and he was way nicer than I am. Viva, maybe niceness is not how white Western civilization came to be. Maybe Napoleon wasn't so nice, and Marcus Aurelius. Maybe they were masculine, strong, tough, and they told the truth no matter if people liked it or not, and they did what was necessary to secure a future for their posterity. Maybe niceness is what the liberals do when they invite all of our.
They did what was necessary to secure their own future. And if someone's going to posit that what you're doing is the exact opposite, that you're not just pissing off people, you're not just alienating yourself from lefties in Minnesota. There is a large faction of people on the right who say, A, as a Jan 6er, you don't speak for me. B, as a Christian, you don't speak for me. And who the hell do you think you're appealing to?
For every detractor, there's Jake, 200 silent supporters, and that is a real number.
Who are you appealing to when you make it, by what you say and do, virtually impossible for anyone to have the legitimate underlying political conversation? You make it impossible for anyone to go out there and say, you make it an embarrassment, some might say, for Donald Trump to have pardoned you when you're out there screaming the N-word.
I categorically deny that. I think that President Trump had an agenda, and one of his number one agenda pieces was immigration. Why immigration? Why is the number one agenda piece for Europe immigration? Why is the number one agenda piece for America immigration? Because white people don't want to see their homelands disappear. Let's cut through the shroud of bullshit. We hired President Trump for a reason. I'm out there supporting ICE as their people are trying to ram their cars into them and murder these people, track them down, dox them, and ruin these people. I'm out there with an American flag, getting punched in the face, dragged throughout the crowd, saying, I support ICE, send the Somali daycare scammers back. I mean, come on. It's like, the mechanisms of mental gymnastics that people like you on the right wing that also personally know me and are my friends have to do to try to condemn me through this. I mean, Alex Jones had me on, and he's nowhere near the closeness to me as you did. And he even said people are trying to say that what you did yesterday was wrong are wrong. You did what was right. He supported me the entire time because he's a political acumen and understanding that this is what President Trump also, I'm not saying all of the inflammatory rhetoric President Trump stands by. But the underlying aspect that white people don't deserve to be replaced and we're being predatorized, and the Department of Justice used to crack down on Catholics and white school board moms and white Jan 6'ers and white doctors that didn't give the COVID vaccine, all Christian right wingers that were under lawfare in the last administration. For the basic part of it was that they're white. How about the white bakery shop Christian owners that didn't want to make the gay cake? All of it, if you boil it down, is because we're white, we're Christian, and we have right-wing politics. And we were under attack in the last administration and if you were white, guess what they did to you on social media talking about these things? They shut you down when Joe Biden was in office, and Mark Zuckerberg wanted to shut down every person that spoke like I do. So I'm trying to tell you that real people like President Trump and Alex Jones understand the seriousness of the existential threat of white replacement and the changing of the demographics in such a rapid way in Minneapolis and Dearborn and in Plano, Texas has been, and in London, England, and you name it, has been destructive. And we're trying to address it. And they address it in more with bedside manner and grace, and they go about it by calling it illegal immigration. But it's not illegal immigration. That's the dog whistle for white replacement, for the destruction of white Western Christian America and Europe. They align. Elon Musk is tweeting every day a graphic, a statistic of in 1970, Germany was this city in Germany, Berlin, was 98% white. And then it goes 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010. And all of a sudden Berlin ends up like 42% white. And it's like, Jake, Elon Musk has woke up to this. Alex Jones is on to this. Donald Trump ran on this. We also, as Americans and white people, which you are, Viva, some people won't say it, but I'm looking at you. You look white to me. You're a white man. You act like a white man too. So we need to understand that our way of life is under attack, and that's what President Trump ran on. And the dog whistle, whatever you want to call it, illegal immigration, immigration reform, ICE, it's just one thing. We're freaking panicking for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren's future. That's what's happening. Me, my generation, and people that think like me are in full freaking panic mode because we're being displaced and we have no future in this country and our own homelands. In Europe, in Ireland, they're being replaced. They're being harassed and antagonized. You see the migrants, they're beating up the school kids, the Irish school kids, and trying to like humiliate ritual and cuckold them. And these people, they don't like us and they hate us. And I don't know how people don't see it. You want to dance around it and make other facts more relevant, you know, and kind of splice into peripheral issues. But we're talking about something very serious. And the core of it is that I'm right. And I may not say it right, but I'm not saying wrong things either. I'm not saying lies. I'm saying the truth in a way that you and many people don't like it. Well, kiss my ass.
Jake. Here's the problem that you're illustrating on the substance, because you pretend that the only disagreement, any disagreement, which there isn't, is on the actual demographic shift, the actual great replacement. I'm looking for tweets of mine that go back 5 years talking about the great replacement not being a racist conspiracy theory, but being an actual political reality. And so you're pretending that that's what the issue is when it comes to what you're doing. And my specific point is that when you walk around doing the Sieg Heil, using N-word lover, burning the Quran and slapping it with bacon. No, you listen for a second. When you do that, you therefore make it impossible for anybody to actually have this conversation, because now we're lumped together with, I mean, I don't even want to say neo-Nazis, because I'm not even sure that neo-Nazis are ever going to accept you given your Jewish heritage. They'll float the picture of you kissing the wall again and say, this is what Jews do. They get into movements, they act subversive, they act contrary to the movement, and now where we had a great replacement.
All right, Andrew Tate and, you know, these wild conspiracy theories.
You have actually, through your conduct, made it impossible to actually have political progress, because now instead of having the actual discussion about the actual political problem, you got screenshots of you doing the Sieg Heil, and doing all sorts of things.
Well, here's the thing:
impossible to support even the substance of what you're saying because of what you're doing.
Well, first of all, most normal, rational people that are seeing the things that I'm doing are not saying, "Oh, Jake Lang is supporting the mass murder of a race of people. I'm saying that the way that Hitler went about restoring his country through strong nationalistic fervor and an understanding of his people and the heritage and the shared bloodline and what made his people a special people, and restoring that honor, making a good society, and fighting against the global powers that had been trying to destroy white Western Europe, and they still are. And obviously, I don't agree. I'm for deportations. I'm not for death camps. That's retarded. It's ridiculous. But, there's a civil, normal, legal, righteous way to go about this. And, that's through ICE. That's through mass deportations. That's through denaturalizations as well from enemies of the state. People, anchor babies that are here that are carrying Mexican flags through the streets and rioting and throwing in. Remember when they're throwing the whole entire concrete blocks on cop cars, waving other people's flags? They're anchor babies. Their parents snuck across the border, had those kids here. The kids grew up watching TikTok and their liberal professors. They went out in the streets and rioted against America. Those people need to be denaturalized and deported and get out of our country.
Good point politically. And now you've made them look like the victims when you go in there and slap a Quran with the bacon and burn it and call
No, that's strength. That's strength. That's strength, Viva, because they say you can't. You know why, Viva? You know why we say nigger? Because they say you can't. Because it's America and this is free speech. And don't act like something if you don't want to be called it, right? If somebody act like white trash, immediately. Alex Jones called some of the protesters yesterday that were heckling me and assaulting me and everything. He called them white trash. You know why he called them white trash? Because you're acting like fucking white trash, okay? That's why. And so when we start to hide language...
There are then bad white Americans that engage in this as well.
Of course, what do you mean the whole entire Democrat Party has brainwashed your people into be self-eating zombies? They want to kill their own. Well, they want to kill people who are advocating for their best interests. They're like a self-eating, self-effacing virus.
Throwing up a Kyle, using the N-word, burning a Koran, slapping with bacon is strength to a 13-year-old who just figured out how to be subversive, who just figured out how to be shocking.
This is the oppression of a people. They put us on the back of the bus. They've taken white people and put us on the back of the bus. We're second-class citizens in our country. And this social virtue signaling, nicety bullshit, the coexist stickers, right? All of this, like letting trans flags into the church and letting the church pastors become women and gay women and all the stuff that we've seen, the nicety and the dulling down of strength and edge and passion and honor and masculinity. They used to just tell social situations, hell no, there's not going to be two gay guys kissing at the local barbecue here because I don't want my son seeing that and getting his stomach twisted in knots because it's unnatural and fucking disgusting. Men used to just have that norm. We used to put our foot down and say, and guess what? I'm about to start out here simping for the Muslims and the Jews. You know why? Because they're running, the Orthodox Jews at least, they're running their societies and their neighborhoods with moral fabric and masculinity. The women are in their natural order as a wife and as a mother, and they're elevated there and they're in a beautiful place. They're not talking back and wearing whore clothes to the club, having 7 baby daddies and 7 abortions. The Muslims and Jews are practicing what they preach, at least in some ways, the Orthodox, and they're living a base lifestyle. But it seems like white Christian men can't get our shit together, and we're allowing the erosion of social norms in our society to the point where, this is the value systems we hold, that anything goes. And it didn't used to go like that. There's not 2 gay guys kissing on the ball drop with 100 million people seeing in Saudi Arabia for the 2026 ball drop, Viva, that I and my family and my kin and my posterity have to be subjected to this brainwashing every day. That's not happening in anywhere, in any place where Orthodox Jews or Muslims are in control, because they're living out the actual lifestyle. That there's no transvestites, there's no school teachers teaching their kids to be gay. I mean, come on, we're fucking up. Excuse me, I'm starting to curse now, but we're fucking up as a culture, as a race, as a people, and we're allowing weakness and feminism to spread throughout our society. And this is exact what we get: white woke idiots attacking the man that's standing up and saying you're being replaced by Somali pirates. It's an insanity to witness this this
I
Wuhan virus at work.
On the one hand, as relates to the Orthodox, I would suggest you go to Israel and see what a tolerant society that has become, despite.
Yeah, and that's why you see me out there, and I'm not standing with them right now because I have been in Israel, and it's like a gay fest there. It's so gay and it's so broken. They've lost their moral way too, and that's not right. The Jews that I know from upstate New York, right, and Brooklyn and stuff, the Orthodox Jews I know, there's zero of that transgenderism, homosexuality, feminism, none of that. The women are homemakers and they're lovely and they're happy and they're
Let me ask you, I often use the reference. It was a movie about the Rwandan genocide, talking about children soldiers and how they after they killed one person, they would kill more and more and more, and they didn't kill more because it became easier. They killed more to try to dilute what they thought, what they understood was the wrong act to begin with. I may be projecting. And I'm reading the chat. People say you're right. You're right on the substance. And my issue with you and what you're doing is your behavior is actually making it more.
There's an algorithm we're at war at. Viva.
Jake,
if I just say what I'm saying,
if you
alone in a bedroom and just post it online, and I'm like, here's Jake Lang's thoughts on race, right? Okay, let's say we go about it the way chat wants me to. I sit down at my desk right here and I write out 3-4 pages of eloquent, well-worded, thoughtful, respectful understandings of my idea. And then I take that, type it out, and put it on Twitter right now. 16 likes, 782 views, and the world goes on another day, and Irina Zaruski's happen every single moment. So I said, how do you fight this thing effectively and get these things talked about? How do you do this with, and lead like a masculine man instead of podcasting about it and writing Twitter posts? Because my grandpa, the last thing he would have done when he watched a video of Irina Zaruski has been like, I need to retweet this right now. He'd have been like called up 10, 20 of his buddies and been like, we're going out, we're dealing with this justice. We're making sure that this animal is not continuously released in a revolving door, right? Because he'd been released from prison, 20 other times by a black judge that was, super sympathetic because his ancestors were slaves. So he's got to be let out of prison 20 times to murder a beautiful blonde girl, white with blue eyes. And so, no, I'm not going to just like retweet stuff and casually post online and review videos like other podcasters do. My grandfather, my forefathers, my forebears wouldn't have done that. And so I won't do that. I have to be more than just, a passive political analyst that says, in the background corner with a tiny megaphone, white people are being replaced. No, that's not, it won't go down like that.
Yeah, but you're sort of contradicting yourself because Charlie Kirk did just that and led one of the most powerful movements with not just, 16 likes and retweets, if that's the metric for success. And you're right, lefty loons, who incidentally were, quite white and quite furry, killed him. And the question is then, I guess the answer is you think that this is the more effective way to get your message out there, to do what you are tacitly admitting is improper but necessary to get attention.
I didn't say so. First of all, social media is at a further generation than it was back then. There's a solidification of influence. There's a gatekeeping that's and it's naturally baked into the algorithm. So in order to start a brand new account today in 2026 and grow it to 1 million followers where you have some level of influence and people are able to, you're able to actually interpret and change the voting mechanisms and the thought processes of the people around you, right? Somewhere around having that large influence right there. To be able to do that from right now, it means you have to do what I'm doing, Viva. I'll tell you, to be very honest, well, you have to break the algorithm. It's different back then, and society's changed.
Jake, so, I don't want to attribute what some people might call a messianic complex. You're not breaking any algorithm. What you're actually doing, and this is my issue with what you're doing, it's not that you're wrong on the substance of the statistics and the demographic shifts. What you're doing makes it impossible for people to have that conversation without being lumped together.
I think more people have that conversation last 2 days in America.
Well, last 2 days, I don't know how you're measuring it, but I can tell you one thing: when people on the right, and a large chunk of them, I think I have a pretty decent sample of the so-called right, want to have none of the Jan 6'ers want to have anything to do with you.
That's not true. I've had Viva. I can go through my missed calls on my phone right now. I have maybe 200 Jan 6'ers that called me.
I should have not said none. I shouldn't have said none. Many. There are many on the right who say this is Christianity. And I'm going to now.
I don't see that. First of all, I saw an outpouring of unbelievable support. Like I've never even seen pages that have never even tweeted me out. I saw everybody and their mother all
pages that have
condemn.
not tweeted you out might not be aware of the other things that you have done to frustrate legitimate discussion. And the people that
I
might
saw
be coming out
overwhelming
right now,
support, and they understand my discussion. They understand the inflammatory nature of my messaging. But my arguments have solid base. They have logic
your
behind them.
arguments have
And
solid base, which is why some people might say you are the flat earth conspiracy theorists, discrediting other legitimate conspiracy theories because everyone gets lumped together with the
no, because people are
classic
listening
denial.
right now. They were listening on Alex Jones last night. You know, when I was mugged in the face in Dearborn, and I went on Dan Ball, Real America's Voice, and I go, on all these networks, and I explain my positioning. I give interviews to Nick Shirley while I'm on the ground that are not full of, it's not just a picture of me with a pig head, right? And the Quran in it. That's the imagery. That's the lightning rod. And then you get the interview with Nick Shirley where I talk for 3 minutes about the craziness that school children, white school children, Christian white school children have to walk through their town in Dearborn and hear the Islamic prayer call at 5:30 in the morning and then at 7 a.m. And I said, this is replacement of a culture. You don't have this anywhere else in America. Why do the police officers have Arabic badges? Why is the entire city council Arabic and they're yelling at a pastor, a white Christian pastor, that they will have a parade the day he leaves their town and that he's not welcome there, the city council. And so I'm able to do the spectacle, which is necessary for the algorithm. And it's also fucking awesome. Let's just put it that way. To put a Quran in a pig's head is based, and that's awesome. And then people can hear why the Islamification of America is actually destructive and that we need to be keyed in on this issue. And I think that my activism has been extremely successful by many metrics. But the most important metric to me is that the administration is looking like they're keyed in on this. Harmeet Dillon's reached out, right? Because of the civil rights violations that I underwent in Muslim majority Dearborn. And, then we had immigration reform literally the next day. Trump put like a block on almost every single Muslim majority country. And then ICE increased and the fervor to get ICE into Dearborn increased. And we're seeing wins happen like that. So, the metrics that I'm seeing success on are not just pure virality, but because who gives a shit about virality? We want the actual end goal to be met for more of these illegal mongrel invader immigrants to be deported and more opportunities for white Americans to be prosperous in their own country to be created. And so, that's the goal that I care about, not the likes, not the tweets, but to change other people's minds to reaching that goal with me and to influence the administration to know that we've got your back. ICE, we're outside. But there may be 5,000 brain dead, woke, liberal Minnesotans outside in the snow screaming how much they hate ICE and that they want to move 10 Somalis into their basement. But there's at least a few patriots that are willing to come out there and show support of ICE, support of President Trump, support of Christian America, support of white America, and not just cower to the background. We shouldn't have to cower. So that's why I went out there. And by those metrics, we were successful. And I think that we showed, instead of just pure imagery of anti-ICE protests and just them, badgering and bludgeoning upon ICE and, just a complete demonstration without any pushback. We showed MAGA's still alive. Republicans are here. We support ICE. We're not going to just be run out of town. And so I showed up outside the Whipple building. I showed up outside City Hall, which was my event. And I said I was going to be there. I was there. I followed through on my word. I was convicted in my heart by God to follow through, even though I knew it was going to be dangerous, because I'm not going to be coerced under the threat of violence to not express my political beliefs in the public square in America. That's when America stops becoming America. So I have to, at threat of even my own life, be somebody saying the public square and these ideas that I believe I'm right on are so important to me, and to express them in the manner that God has given me the right from, are so important to me that if I'm lynched for doing so, then so be it. I will not do so under threat of being lynched, because it's more important to me to be right within myself and my convictions in my heart than even my own personal safety, because those convictions set a precedent for other Americans and for the future to say, just like the guy who stood in front of the tank, right? When the like Tiananmen Square guy, that the famous photo of the one guy standing in front of the tank, he might have been, and I don't even know, I think he was run over, but he just said the precedent is that we must resist tyranny. And I also believe that the leftist woke mob that lynched me is tyranny, right? Because they're trying to shut down my First Amendment right. So we must resist tyranny, even at threat and risk of our own life being lost. And that's what our founding fathers, that's the baseline principle they operated by. And that's why they're revered as men of, renown, because they were men and they didn't care about their own personal safety, but for the posterity and for the ideals of the things that they stood for were more significant than their life is. And that's what the land of the free and the home of the brave is all about. That's the essence of America.
Well, I'm looking at the chat, and you've expressed yourself. I still, and it's not to be stubborn about it. The substance of the discussion is different than the tactics, and I don't know that many people would agree that the Christian way, and I don't lecture anybody on how they practice, would be to throw Sieg Heils, use the N-word, and stick a Quran in a pig's head. Any more than anyone should. It's lawful, but
I'm sure there was two Jews, and that's funny because it's not funny, but it's funny. Back in Jesus's day, that we're doing a podcast on the steps of the temple, asking if Jesus's tactics of putting together a 3-cord whip and throwing the money changers' tables over of their day was akin to the same conversation that we're having about my tactics, saying, was putting the Quran in a pig's head too much? I'm sure there were 2 Jews pontificating and questioning the inflammatory tactics of Jesus to drive out evil from his homelands, which was the money changers, which was the false, Talmudic, legalistic, Satanistic Jewish people that did not see Jesus as God, but rejected him as the Messiah, rejected the living God who breathed life into them, and he rebuked them. And I'm sure people thought that was controversial, not only the message, but the way he delivered it in that particular circumstance. So controversy is not without precedent in Christianity. I'll just put it that way. And if our intention is something righteous, and we're not being overtly evil or torturous or sadistic to try to destroy people, but trying to keep it on the messaging and what the core of the messaging is, and not browbeating people down and making them feel like animals or lesser than, but just simply standing up for the right for my people to exist and keeping it on that level, then I think it's the righteous thing to do. I try not to focus too much on like old school white supremacy, these other races are inferior type of messaging. I really don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I love the way that my people live, and I believe that we have a great way of life, white, Western, Christian, and Europeaners. But that doesn't mean that these other ways of living, these more simple ways of living and stuff, don't have their charms to them, and I'm sure there's spiritual benefits as well too. But that's a place I try not to go down, because I'm not a white supremacist. I'm pro-white. Don't get me wrong, just like I'm pro-life. I have a natural affinity, and I see my people as the people I want to put first and air their grievances and speak and represent and do things for my people first. Doesn't mean I'm against black. I'm not anti-black. I'm not anti-Muslim. I'm pro-white. And I want to make sure that there's a future for white people in white countries. So, if that makes me the bad guy, then I'm the bad guy.
My only last word of not caution, but my last observation is I would be wary. I read the chat. There's a lot of people saying go for it, Jake. Yay, yay, yay. Something happens to you, Jake, they'll move on to the next entertainment of the day, because the people who say, yeah,
well, let me tell him here then. Let me tell him here, because there's somebody out there, there's a young man out there. Pick up the torch, pick up the vest, and march onward, Christian soldier. Just because they take one of us down doesn't mean the mission is failed. Bear the torch and continue the work that I set out to do. So God bless you, and He'll protect you until he calls you home. You'll be under the shroud of God's love, and that's the best place to be, in His will, in His hands. So pick up the torch and keep going. If they take me out.
I'm going to ask you one last question, and
secure. This is in the easiest way. I like to say this because people don't understand. I guess one of the slogans for my movement is secure a future for white children and Christians in America, because they'll both be persecuted. Obviously, the Christians, I mean, the Bible tells us we'll be persecuted, but that's my message. Secure a future. I mean, let's think about it right now. And I told you this at the beginning, but we have probably different viewers here. What will it be like for the third and fourth generation of white children after me in America? It'll be like South Africa. They'll be chanting in stadiums full of black people, kill the Boer, kill the white farmer. All the major cities will be completely infested. There won't be any white people there. You'll have rural white farmers, just like South Africa. And eventually, the dysfunction in the inner cities will become so great, just like South Africa, that they will start lynching and murdering and ethnically cleansing the white farmers, the white Boer. And it's the same. We're just a few generations behind them because we're so large of a country. But 3-4 generations from now, the kill the Boer will be the kill the American, kill the white boy, kill the white boy in America. So, and it's happened. We just saw it happen in Minneapolis to me, a lynching of a white man for expressing these values. So don't think it may not even be 3 or 4 generations away. Viva, I didn't think it was possible for a Christian to be lynched by a group of atheists, mostly, in America, with the police standing by. Say, oh, isn't that interesting?
Last question. Do you this again might be my own projecting. I'll call them antics. You might not. Your tactics have gotten increasingly, I'd say, not offensive is not the right word. Shocking, for lack of a better word. Part of me wants to believe that, at some point once you do one thing, you can't go back, and then you have to live with that. You say, well,
for my next trick, I'll be shot out of a cannon into a mosque. I mean, I'm not trying to make them like circus spectacles here, but you do have to be strong. And I want to show that the message of my strength is that Christians aren't afraid. It's like we're ready for war if it needs to go there. We're men. We'll put on our boots and kill the aggressor. Yeah, that's Jake, at the end of the day, that's a real thing. People need to understand men are still men, and we will not be replaced and completely displaced and not have any future in our societies. People go to war for those things. That's what every war fundamentally is about. The security and the future of one nation and one race. The nations are races, the different races of people, striving against one another. And why should we have to retweet our way into complete replacement?
Well,
just send another retweet, white man. Like, no.
But or if you think that by fighting, it's burning a Quran and doing what I would call the lowest level of shock jock antics is fighting.
That's gay.
Gay
thing to say.
Some people would say using the N-word, throwing up Zeke Heil is gay. Go to that club with Nick Fuentes and sings, N-word.
Listen,
go do that, and that's fighting. That's fighting. And
the thing is they want to do the antics or say they're based, right? But being based is having blood on your boots. That's based. The warriors of old times of the Netherlands, and that's base, not going to a nightclub and standing behind a podcast microphone for a living.
I guess
that would be fine to do.
Well, I guess the people that tried to lynch you and
there wasn't Irina Zaruski's happening.
But Jake, forget. I'm not even going to say they think they're based because they wanted your blood on their shoes. I don't think but look, personally, not only do I not think it's based to do some of the stupid stuff you've been doing, it makes it impossible to have the substantive discussion. You can come on here. I listen to you. I know you. I happen to personally think maybe, I've said publicly what I think.
You were already saying, you were like alluding to the fact that like I'm an escaped zoo animal, deranged and broken from prison. Like the arguments that I'm making, like the logic that I'm saying right now is not clear as crystal. You're like, don't listen to this guy. He's broken, but it's just bullshit. And you're mischaracterized me, and your audience can see I am not in any way.
You just mischaracterized me, and I didn't say.
No, that's what your post about me was all about. That like I damaged, psychologically damaged from prison, and that's why I'm going on this crusade.
First of all, I sincerely believe that to be true, and I believe that.
There you go. Look at that.
But I'm not saying, but that's not to say don't listen to anything you say. What I'm saying is it's making it impossible to listen to even the legitimate things you have to say, and some people are going to make accusations that you are actually a provocateur who is slowing down political progress because nobody's. I don't know. Has Harmeet Dillon gotten back to you on your civil rights violations? Since
I don't want to talk to the feds. You know, that's not my thing. They can go make arrests. They don't need my help to go watch the videos of me being punched in the face and go arrest those people. What do they need me to email them for? Go arrest them. Harmeet, FBI, go get them. Go get the bad brown guys that beat the shit out of me and the white guys.
It sounds like there's a lot of white gals in there too. So you know,
yes, but there was also but I mean, look at Dearborn. Dearborn was just a masterclass in brown Muslims beating the shit out of white Christians.
But you've also just talked about how it's white liberal women who are the big problem.
Of course, deport them all. Don't get me started.
Jake, look, I'll say it, and it's not a fear hiding a wish. It's the fear of the people in the chat saying, "Yay, go, Jake." They love to see someone go do stupid things, like watching this guy with the wingsuit try to fly into the bridge. He crashes into the bridge, and then they move on to the next Red Bull stuntman, and then their lives go on, and yours is no longer the same. So
yeah, but the security of white children is not a Red Bull stunt. That's the difference. When you put your life on the line for something that matters and that has value and that has a depth to it, then that goes away from, some type of a want for entertainment or to be, something of that nature, and goes into a righteous deed. And so if I'm doing a righteous deed, which is trying to secure the future of my people, and I'm taking it to extreme lengths because it's an extremely broken situation, then I'm just trying everything. It's like I've got a toolkit, right? And you're trying to fix like a broken pipe or whatever, and you're throwing everything out of the toolkit because this pipe is gushing, leaking, and drowning you and your family.
If what you're doing is making the leak worse, then you might want to.
I know, and I don't think anybody believes that. I don't think anybody believes that. I think that we're showing strength for the first time. Like I said, if you think that finally doing and saying the things that they said we weren't allowed to do and say is weakness, and that it's that it's counterproductive, well, I would say that's weakness. I would say that
and I
would do everything they say you can't do it. Do it twice, double down, and then throw them out of your country.
And Jake, and I would say that's exactly what a 6-year-old says to his father the first time he learns how to swear. Don't tell me what I could say. Fuck.
Well, then all of a sudden you're 20 years old, and it's not so much about who says what to which person. It's about who can throw down more. And so the small arguments you used to have with dad are, now a test of who's the more dominant of the two opponents, right? And right now, it's a question of who's the more dominant of the two opponents, right-wing white Christian men or leftist, triple vaccinated, furry, transvestite, black dildo, OnlyFans, transvestite models. Which one is stronger? Which one's going to own the streets of Minneapolis? Who's going to allow them to continue to impede ICE agents as they de-brownify America? I'm not going to sit there and allow ICE to fall apart because leftist liberals and illegal immigrants want to pretend that they run these streets and that they're the dominant force and that they could, call the shots on President Trump and the white man's agenda. I'm not going to have that. We need to show strength. We need Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, 3%ers, Boogaloo, all of them. There's even more. Patriot Fronts, all the active clubs. We need men out there. When I say I'm going out somewhere and I'm going to be espousing anti-Islamification and pro-white nationalism, and these other groups allow me to be lynched, it shows weakness in our ranks, and it shows a humiliation that they're dominating us. And that can't be the fact because, when push comes to shove, this is a arms race in many ways. And, we don't want it to be there, but that's why we want President Trump's Insurrection Act. We don't want a physical conflict with our fellow Americans. We want the law to do what we hired it to do, which is get out like 20, 30, 40 million illegal immigrants from our country and save our population from being displaced.
And if what you're doing makes the illegals actually look like the victims in this, and it makes it more difficult for judges to get on the side of deportation, because
Jake, Viva, what mental gymnastics you just have to do to say the illegals are the victims when I was nearly ripped limb from limb?
You're not listening.
I'm the oppressor, the man being stabbed.
Jake, what did I?
All
Jake,
this stuff. I'm still the white. See, that's the problem here. Even if a white man is lynched, the illegals are still the victims. What the hell are you talking about?
I would ask you to repeat what I said, because clearly you either didn't hear it, or you didn't understand it, or you didn't want to.
They're the victims, and I'm the oppressor. They're the victims. I'm the oppressor.
Jake, first of all, that's not what I said. So you can go back and replay the tape. What I said is, if your behavior allows them to portray themselves as the victims, which is precisely the strategic mistake in what you're doing by burning the Quran, calling them N-words, throwing up Z Kyle, it allows the illegal aliens to say, look at this white nationalist, racist garbage who's not even letting us practice our religion.
I haven't been that flattered in a long time.
But understand what I'm saying. So it'll all be told. I mean, maybe things will happen despite, maybe things will happen because, and we'll never know whether or not correlation.
Well, when are people going to be afraid to be labeled racist or white nationalist or America first or pro-America or pro-white? When are we going to hide behind people labeling us? Oh, some brown illegal immigrants labeled me as a racist. Oh, poor pig. Come on, man. This is our country. These are our societies. These are our social norms, and they're breaking them. They're oppressing women. They're making their women hide underneath hefty trash bags. They're making them copulate, having 5, 6 wives, and all of this disgusting. The children are getting married in their early teens and being sold off. They have totalitarianism and complete rampant inhuman actions that they promote. And we're going to talk about that we're racist. They're racist. They're sexist. They're oppressors. They hate us. We don't hate them. We want them out. It's a difference. They physically hate us and want to kill us. Their children, black children in America, are raised to say white people are oppressors, white people are slave owners, white people hate you, and so the black people grow up to learn, and they hate us.
Well,
they hate us.
And
they kill us 41 times more often than we kill them. They're racist. You're over here saying the illegals are going to wag their finger at you saying they're racist. No, I'm not racist, Viva. I don't assault people because of the color of their skin. That's what black people do. So don't start with me here.
Jake, I'm not going to have the argument as to who's racist or not. But
no, I know, but that's what the liberals do. That's what the devil does, right? He effectively calls you what he is, and he's the accuser.
Jake, throwing up Sieg Heil hand fists and saying N-word lovers, and don't tell me that they're depicting you wrongly for what you've said and done. And then the only question is going to be, do your actions make it harder to pursue what would otherwise be a legitimate political cause because of the antics that you've done? And that's the only thing where I guess we're going to disagree. People here saying, yeah, on the substance, stats are stats. Overrepresentation is a matter of fact. The Great Replacement is up in Canada too. It's a fact.
Yes.
And then the question is, what about Canada?
Niagara Falls is all Indians everywhere. Even the restaurants, it's like everything is Sikh. They Sikh everything. They get and there's like all these people walking around with towels in the bathroom, so if my hands are wet. It's crazy up there. We're plays. Don't
I'm going to read to
whine about tactics.
Well,
crusade.
Jake, if what you're doing is counterproductive, you might be trying to fix the pipe, and all you're doing is enhancing the flow. So we'll see.
Well, at least it's like 30 plumbers will show up, be like, look at this guy, and then they can do it.
30 plumbers are going to say it would have been easier to fix this without your help, Jake. Thanks.
Yeah, but they would have been the law. The thing is, they never would have been called because they would have been out meandering in La La Land if I didn't put the pig head in the Quran.
Yeah, you'll never know what.
I'm bringing the
You'll never know
plumbers to the yard.
You will never know what would have been had you not done what you've done. But
my
all we
Quran
know is that you did.
pancakes, when I'm cooking the Quran on the bacon, my Quran pancakes bring all the plumbers to the
Well,
yard here.
I'm
FIFA.
not sure that that's the flipping of the tables that Jesus would have espoused in the Bible, but I'm not Christian and I won't lecture anybody on it. Jake, I'm going to go read the chat. And I'm going to get to the other stories. I'll keep. We'll obviously keep in touch, but we've had the discussion publicly now. So,
And Viva, wait, one last thing before I go. Am I still blacklisted from like the Viva dumb? Like I can't hang out with my old boy anymore?
No, Jake, I'll tell you,
because that's what you were implying, that we're no
Jake,
longer friends. Are we buddies
do not,
again or not?
I do not.
Or am I still
not,
like
I do
dangerous
not.
zoo animal escaped from prison?
I don't fraternize with anybody who uses N-word lover or does. I mean, it's like call me.
Are you proud of being white,
watching.
Viva?
Sorry.
Are you proud of being white?
First of all, I've always considered myself white.
Yes or no?
Despite, am I proud? Why would I be proud of an immutable trait? I think it's stupid to say I'm proud of the way
You're proud of your ancestry. You're proud of your culture.
I can't be proud of things that I have not made an active decision to adopt. You don't adopt your skin.
Well, here's the difference. They're proud of being who they are. Koreans are proud of being Korean. Japanese are proud of the history and the length, the honor, the discipline, the teachings.
The history is different.
Are you proud of the history of white people then? Are you proud of it?
Am I proud of the history of white people? You're going to have to narrow it down.
I heard you. All right. I love you, Viva.
No, I would say this. I would be proud to be American when I make the decision to become American. Am I proud to be Canadian? I was born Canadian. I didn't have a choice in it. So you take pride in your choices, not immutable traits or happenstances into which you're born. It's a cheap, low IQ level.
Those immutable traits, though, do have real world, actual, articulable consequences. The way people live, the level that people are able to operate at.
But ask me a stupid other. Am I proud to be 5'5.5"? Am I proud to be short? Am I proud to be strong?
Why not?
Is that the decision?
You have characteristics that go along with that to be able to. You would have been able to escape through that crowd easier than me. You would have been able to dip and dodge right underneath.
I would have been able. Yeah, I wouldn't have been there in the first place. And it's not a question of being a coward. I don't maximize my chances for physical harm. And I try. And I think I've been pretty good at
I don't either, unless my way of life and my future of my family is under threat. Then I have no problem maximizing physical threat. I don't do it for fun. I don't do it because it's cool.
Jake, when I would not go to a Manchester United soccer game and start cheering for the opponent. I would expect to get beaten, and that would be a large group of Europeans who you go into.
I don't know. I'm from America, where I can go to any football game wearing another person's jersey and act like a normal white person, and I usually won't be mugged, right? Unless two people are drinking and they fight like polar bears, that usually doesn't happen in America. The soccer riot thing. That happens in some other countries. I'm an American. I have standards of freedom of speech.
I think you know what I think. It doesn't matter what I think. You're a big boy. You'll live your life and you'll make your decisions.
So we're not. So you can't fraternize with me, but you can podcastinize with me. I wanted to hear what you had to say about it. It's much easier than a tweet. You're right. I'm like an old school dude. I take friendships and loyalty very seriously, and especially for prison and stuff like that. So I like to know who's with me in my corner and who's my friend and who I can count on and call if I'm in a bind. And I guess
Jake, loyalty is not me egging you on because you want, when you're drunk already. Loyalty is not me saying, hey, go do more stupid things. Loyalty is me telling you when I think you've done something stupid, when I think you've done something immoral, and when I think you've done something counterproductive. And I think you did, period. And then I think you're also too far into it to admit it because you've reached, it's like a person who keeps sleeping around. You can't unsleep. So once you regard yourself as a whore, what's another person to sleep with? And I think you've reached that threshold. And it's good. There's always room for being reborn. But being loyal, not being egging you on to your demise.
The way that you're trying to equate white erasure with like these lowbrow war stuff and stuff like that. The difference is
I'm equating lowbrow stupid behavior with lowbrow.
Yeah, but you're equating it with like going to a Manchester United game. You're talking about.
I am equating.
You're talking about lowbrow stupid shit. You're talking about boredom and soccer games. I'm talking about putting your life on the line for the future of white people. No, you're talking about putting your life on the line for a fucking soccer team. Don't equate them. They're not the same. One of them is serious. One of them is triviality. Okay,
you're right.
And that's why I put my life on the line for the serious one. No, I would not wear a Barcelona jersey to a Manchester United game and enter myself into a place of undue physical harm potential. You know why? Because soccer's fucking stupid and its goyslop used to freaking make people distracted. That's why I wouldn't do it. Why would I go into a rabid group of liberals? Because the future of white children is dependent upon strong men standing up. So there's a difference here. Stop equating things that don't have any stature together.
Burning the Quran, throwing up Sieg Heils, using the N-word is as stupid, lowbrow, low IQ as dressing up.
Those
like
are
a
political
hooker.
demonstrations in order to drive home a
I
point
don't.
that we're being replaced.
I don't think it should be illegal, but I wouldn't support burning the cross or urinating on the cross. Or
It's a political demonstration that's behind a point. It's not pure hatred. It's not behind a hate group. It's behind a man that is espousing the ideas that I'm espousing.
And that's like that woman who slept with 1,000 people in a day saying it's not about whoredom. It's about like physical accomplishments. It's not about sex. I'm not a degenerate. I'm just trying to break a record. It's stupid behavior. And I'll tell you up front, it's stupid. It's counterproductive. And I do think it's immoral, but I do think that you're too far into it to actually admit that and walk it back. Because you might have actually done things which in certain cultures is not walk backable. I don't think you're a Salman Rushdie yet. And I think people do forget about this type of stupid antics, and you can get back into the productive, and I would dare say, Christian value method of dealing with it, which does not involve the shock jock stupidity that you've done. That I will have
when you boil it down that way, and I think that when your great grandchildren are kissing a prayer rug in their preschools, that you'll wish that you didn't try to undermine me in this scenario, because I'm one of the only ones standing up to fight while you're trying to call my things antics and shock jock. I'm doing political action, and I'm talking about very important issues, and I'm doing some inflammatory things while I'm doing those things in order to drive my point home. That's a proper way to address the seriousness of my ideas and what we're talking about here, and not trying to undermine and cut it up and be like, it's lowbrow, it's shock jock, it's this, it's that. No, it's fucking necessary to the future of white children is what it is. And if we have to burn some Qurans, and that's like the basic, that's the bottom level of what a people should be willing to do to secure their future. This is something that one of my friends that's way tougher than I am told me, and this is what I want to end with here. And they're very serious, and I don't say it lightly. How would you be willing to kill somebody if you wouldn't be willing to say something offensive to them? So think about that. If you're not, we're talking about the possibility of physical conflict with enemies that want to enslave us and destroy us. And you can't call them a little fucking word? And you think that you're going to be able to stand up toe to toe and go to war with an enemy? So don't start with me here. And don't get me going, because you're gonna get me into full masculine fucking existential threat crisis mode, which is where men need to be. If you're worried about throwing a slight, word at somebody, you're not prepared for the battlefield. These are two different levels here.
We have different definitions of masculinity, and we have different. I'm not to say that I'm the old bull, but it's like the young papa bull and the baby bull walking on the mountain, and they say, "Hey, look down there. Let's go run down and fuck a cow." And Papa Bull says, "No, let's walk down and fuck them all." It's from colors, people, and I apologize to swear. We have different concepts of masculinity and different concepts of necessity. And I would also dare say that when you kill someone, you don't. I've never been there, but I would imagine there are even you don't take pride in having to do that which is immoral.
Of course not, but you should take pride in the willingness to do what it takes to secure the future of your people, to any extremity, and not try to kind of cut out the realities of what is coming to us and where we're at. They're lynching white people in the streets for talking about our replacement. How do we fix our country if they're going to arm up and start shooting ICE agents and all this stuff? We have liberals. I seen the Antifa. The guy with the Antifa's got a big Antifa. They stole my cross too. They stole my watch, my vest, my speaker, my microphone, anything. They were animals pickpocketing me. So we need to talk about these things, Viva, and not be ashamed to address them head on. And that's why I'm here, and that's why my message works. That's why people are listening. And that's why they want to kill me, because of the effectiveness of what we're doing. And so don't virtue signal your way into replacement, please. If you need to say some things and do some things that may not be nice, the definition of liberal, peace, love, hippie, rock and roll, 1969 Beatles, that's sometimes that's necessary. We can get back to the, I'll smoke a joint on the lawn of Woodstock with anybody, right? Because I like music and I like peace and stuff. But in order to get there, in order to secure that same experience for my posterity, the civilized man has to be willing to do uncivilized things to the uncivilized man in order to secure civilization. And good men have to do bad things sometimes in order to make sure that goodness can thrive. That's the nature of, our military and the nature of freedom. Ronald Reagan said it in different words, talking about that liberty is only ever one generation away from extinction, and that we must be bold enough to secure it. And it's been reiterated many times by many of our most revered politicians, and I'm here preaching the same message. And if you're not willing to say something mean to somebody, how are you willing to defeat them in the battlefield of life? That they're trying to destroy you. They hate you. They want to see you and your family locked up. They want to see Rudy Giuliani piss poor, homeless in the streets, take everything from him, lock up Steve Bannon, lock up me and my brothers, torture us and our families, not let us get haircuts. They want to see us ended. Finito, Chinito. So this is, a serious enterprise to me. So I don't mind calling, a spade when it needs to be said, because that's really the bottom line of what, a man should be willing to do to make sure his people are safe and secure in the future. A couple name calls is nothing. We need to be prepared for the eventualities that seem to be coming our way.
Jake, we'll stay in touch. I'll keep following, and we'll see where this goes.
You're my friend. You're allowed at my house anytime.
Yeah, well, Jake,
bring your hood. No, I'm kidding.
I'm okay. We'll obviously talk again.
Thank you. Love you, Viva. God bless you. God bless you guys. Fight. And make sure you reshare the video and get this out there. Thanks, guys.
You can take it. Do what you want with it. Godspeed.